I would echo what I can't remember. JB, is that your name?
Jovo.
Oh, Jovo.
Jobo. I'm gonna echo what she said, but just that I don't think it's different when I think about the way that I mother them. But I think I will add that to my motivational piece with my son as I'm trying to get him to do things like you were. But I'm gonna echo everything that people were praying for you. But I think the part that people miss sometimes in the fertility journey is it can take the joy out of the pregnancy because you're so concerned about, like when you talked about being nervous and bleeding. So my first pregnancy, I was like nervous the entire time. The second pregnancy, even though I didn't have any issues with the last two pregnancies, but it kind of takes the joy out of being pregnant because of that challenge. So you kind of are jaded a little bit when you see other people who are enjoying their pregnancies. You're not side eyeing them, but you're like you wanted that experience for yourself too. So that's what I'll add to that.
Okay, thank you. I imagine, that's real and honest. And I hate that we sometimes judge people, you know, we, think, oh, she's jealous, right? But that's a legitimate feeling. If you've been praying for something and you see other people around you, obtaining that, and you don't always know their story. Sometimes it came easy, sometimes it didn't. But that doesn't even matter because it's like you're seeing them experience what you've been praying for. And it's not that you wish bad upon them or that you wish that they didn't have these blessings, but it could make you feel a little sad if you've been praying for a child for 10 years and then somebody comes around and it took them 6 months.
Listen, I promise you, I probably went to so many baby showers within that 7, 8 years, to the point where my husband was like, well, maybe you should just stop going to baby showers, like, because you are coming home like happy that they're having a baby, but it put me in a mood sometimes, you know. Um, Also, I want to point out that within that time I was trying to get pregnant, my sister-in-law, her two oldest children, me and my husband helped her through a really rough time at one point, and we were raising her two oldest kids. And when they returned back to their mom, and I had to rearrange my house, like kids had been there, and then it was like, bam, no kids here. That probably was in my top three toughest times being married. That was probably number one. It was like we both were sad that they were gone, and it was like, okay, what now? And it's like, okay, back on the whole, let's try to get pregnant again, and it just got to be draining. And we were living in South Georgia at the time, and I remember my husband saying, you know what, we should just make a drastic change. We just need to move. Okay. And if you from Georgia, and I hate to say this, if you from Georgia, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it's going to be a given that at some point you're going to live either outside of Atlanta or in Atlanta. And I didn't want to go. I went kicking and screaming. And that was in 2010, I believe. And I was pregnant by February 2011.
Okay.
And I remember just like not, it's like once I moved, the anxiety went away. And I was like, let's live life. And it was like it clicked. Okay. Like if you live life, take care of yourself, you know, focus on some other things, you could possibly get pregnant. And I remember having that thought, and bam, I thought I had the flu and I was really pregnant. Had a whole, didn't even know it.
Yeah. And that leads me to the fact, I just wanted to mention a few things about, what influences fertility. Obviously, we can't do anything about our eggs dying, right, and decreasing with age, but we can impact our fertility by what we eat, our consumption of alcohol, our exercise. So there are other types of things that we can do to make sure that we have optimal fertility. I did want to go back to this question though. One of our viewers asked, how has that impacted your view on abortions? And I don't want to get on the whole tangent about abortions and whether or not they're right or wrong. I don't want to do that. Not tonight. But has that impacted how you guys feel about abortions at all?
It hasn't impacted how I feel about it at all. I mean, that's that person's choice and what they want to do with their life. There's no way for you to know, like you said, you don't know that person's story. So I think it's up to them and they have the right to make whatever choice, regardless of what struggles. The things that I tell most young women is, I tell them to live their life, but if that's something you want to do and have children, just be conscious of that. Maybe consider freezing your eggs or something like that, just so you have a plan of action if you encounter a challenge like that. So that's the only thing I tell, because I teach high school, and so when I tell younger women that when they ask me, like, what are some lessons you learned, especially my seniors, what are some things you would tell us? And I tell them, just enjoy your life, live your life. But if that is something you really want to do and you're looking to do it later in life, you might want to consider the freezing of your eggs as a possibility. But
Okay.
it doesn't impact my abortion. It's up to whatever that woman wants to do with her body.
Okay. All
I
right.
think we often, I don't know, I don't want to say leave off, but that's a good point. But I think we forget that abortion is also sometimes a part of the fertility process. I've met quite a few women who unfortunately had to terminate pregnancy because they weren't viable.
Okay,
And
please.
it's always painted as if a woman's just loosey goosey and she just ripping and having a baby yank. And that's not always the case at all. Some people have ectoptic accept in the fallopian tube. And women shouldn't be shamed for terminating that pregnancy. But it's always spent as if, oh, well, she just out here hoeing in these streets and she just don't want to take care of her kids. When that isn't even brought up as a real honest to God reality of getting or trying to conceive. Ms. Jovo, you made a good point about being exhausted. When we first got married, I was the birth control queen. Let me tell you, okay. I would cream pie me because we are taking the pill, okay. But eventually, kind of like what Darwin was talking about last week, it was just like, oh, let's just have a baby, it'll be fun, whatever. To your point, you have a few of those, miscarriages, and it's not fun anymore. It's not,
Mhm.
it's just it's debatable at that point. So
Okay.
you guys brought up some good points, but I do think abortion is often left off a part of the fertility conversation because people don't think about the fact that you could eventually get pregnant and that child could be developing with all those organs outside of his body. I know women who's had babies developing and their legs are developing together.